What to do today? What the day about the mobile? They just the lot of the model charter radio giving it all right. To the charger by the lot of the roll about a lot of the region at the Bayo de Jacadilla. Sounds are low. Doji the leather of Baba Mila, you homo the Bojo, so on the only change of on it to the block or they also told the watch that you told me about your jealous or the Dachina about the 사자집을 보내더니 사람 가진 게 필요하래. 얘는 가진 싶어야 돼. 기차 같은 남바 용도 남설이 당 그바디 들마 나가다는 참 진짜 맞출 거야. 양순이 당. 이거다가 강시시 필요해 다 지네. 자탕야 보지 시에 말해. 맛있어서 빌어. 공다 저 봤어. 강시시
So yesterday I offered an introduction to you, my Dharma friends, on the profound fivefold path of Mahamudra, and this is a practice which is engaged in throughout all the lineages of Buddhism. So there are these 5 levels of practice, which all the lineages of Buddhism practice. And I have offered you this introduction to the best of my abilities, and it may not have been very good, so I apologize for that.
마마를 좁아치 못서 진심 소리를 듣고나 되니까 매직을 방송 답하는 게 실리 삼적이 되나 동다 진바상 저들었더니 매직을 방송 답하는 게 차요래 각각 많이 받더니 통보요래 내 답보바 간다 탐적은 양철이 받다면 양철이 땅대로 드라마자 맞나 반타서 양철이 탑 드라마자 도망만이 봐야 소소소소를 데려티니 카카이 있어. 정말로 이제 카카 말이야. 돈은 나 봐서 되거든요. 나와들. 대바니 마도 말이. 대바니는 돈 담을 대바들. 사치도 없고 맞서 보면 다 나들이 하람
So basically, the Buddhist view can be condensed into the 2 truths, and it is given different names. Those who investigate these views through the scriptural tradition and through reasoning is called the Madhyamaka, or Great Middle Way. And in the Kagyu lineage, which is the practice blessing lineage, it is called Mahamudra. And in the Nyingmapa lineage, it is called Dzogchen, or Great Completion. So it is given 3 different names which refer to one and the same meaning. It is just like one person possessing 3 different names. So those who understand that the ultimate meaning will see it that way. They will not see any distinction. Some beginning practitioners may see a distinction, and they see that there are different approaches of practice, different levels of practice that are given different names. So they may think that the practices actually are separate. In actuality, there is no distinction between those practices. In brief, the entire Buddhist view comes down to the 2 truths only. And from the ultimate perspective, it is given the 3 names of Madhyamaka, Mahamudra, and Dzogchen.
도만이 뜨다 아송 나서 호를 말아래 봐서 좀 생고 버릇 봐 홀을 줘서 그래 홀을 생기다 이제 나도다 진짜 동반이래 해서 저다한테는 형도 동반을 해야지 아 동반이겠다 생도 동반이래 해서 대내 통부 상지 고도장 뭐 홀을 생기 담지 창무자가 라왕매가 방금 채빨 때문에 근데 뭐 소생기 담지 고와 자식장 땅사 바디 따와서 요리했다 이 삼지에도 강가 살이 고와 탐해 버리지 적대로다들이 차대요 해지 얘랑 고도장부 못 왔다 그랬지나 생기에 담지 이제는 들식 좀 갖다 최등 작업 따와서 마도도 좀 했더니 돈 담바가들이 성신군에서 요 말했어 그래서 나 저런데 남쪽 쇼와 저런데 그네 너 말했어 다들 이들송아 저런 거랑 이철해서 뭐라 그래 생기 막동 사진 통송하다 이런 생기 다시 상무자가 라왕이 봐 그래서 때리면서 생을 가와다 내가 집을 열래 오늘 tamsi 이제 반하기는 보여. 오, 가서 상나 상지야로 살아야지.
So this aspirational prayer has some or contains in its entirety the inner meaning of the Dzogchen teachings, and in Tibetan it begins with the word Chitta A, and that refers to the mind or the heart and emptiness. Milarepa has said that the grasping to reality is the cause for samsara. In actuality, the mind is empty of a self. It is empty of self-nature. So chitta refers to heart or the mind, and A refers to emptiness. So this mind is empty in self-nature. And so in the prayer it says that although the ocean of samsara is very vast and very deep, to some it may appear to be endless, yet we possess the potential to attain enlightenment. Kuntuzangpo has seen that all sentient beings are endowed with Buddha nature. Like we said the other day, it is just like a frozen ice block. And the nature of mind is temporarily obscured only. In actuality, sentient beings do not really exist. They just are like temporarily frozen ice blocks that can be melted. That is to say that an ice block is not a rock, it's not a piece of stone. The ice block also is in the nature of water and can be melted. Therefore, Milarepa has said, I do not see sentient beings, I only see Buddhas. So without choice, we have the potential to attain enlightenment, and seeing that should generate great joy and bliss in our minds, like waking up from a dream and realizing, oh, I actually can attain enlightenment.
sakshidane sona nawa semso taje semyi tombar taje sona konte chutabje semka majiba chikja mesi semka yuja padre patakje matana zokriga char semka takje dana ranga semka nero kipate doso sana konte chutabje dele majiba chikja zo mareso de zokwachi moya tongre ranga semka nero doso sana konte chutabje rangsi chikja longna zokwira zokwachi 대 도송산한테 람초 대인의 예매별은 제모송 되니 람탐이 것도 줘봐 족바 제모송 응 대란도 그러래 책 남으로 망보도나 공적 같은 중에 다도 딜로 온게 그런데 안 거도 주다게 디스타게 그런데 동시 송선아 다 좋고요 레지
So Chaitanya Rebbe has said, do not cut the root of words, but cut the root of the meaning. Do not cut the root of phenomena, but cut the root of mind. So as for the first one, do not cut the root of words, but of the meaning. It means that there is many words to be said. Regarding the Dharma, there are 84,000 different aggregates of Dharma teachings, and each one of them, again, is divided into 84 different branches. So there are an infinite number of different Dharma teachings, but they all come down to one essential meaning, and that is the true truth. And the true truth, again condensed, comes down to the ultimate truth. Then when he says, do not cut the root of phenomena, but cut the root of the mind, it is to say that all phenomena of samsara and nirvana are contained or included within the mind. As it is said in Mahamudra, resolve that all appearances are created by mind, and resolve that the mind is empty of self-nature. Thus all appearances are empty of self-nature. So all phenomena within samsara and nirvana are created by the mind. Therefore, do not project outward and investigate each and every phenomena, but look inward and investigate the mind. If you only realized this mind, then you have realized the nature of all phenomena within samsara and nirvana. The path of Dzogchen, the great completion, is the supreme path which shows the same thing, that all phenomena are complete. It's called the great completion. All phenomena are complete, included within the mind itself. Therefore, it is the most supreme path. So although there are many words to be explained, it all comes down to one single meaning and one single path, and that is to resolve that all phenomena within samsara and nirvana are included within this mind.
이래저래 정말 나시 거대 탑재 권수 낭진서 버직진으로 줬다 낭지 타마 낭게 요래 낭시 반데라더니 손 돌들더니 호와가 나데 니리 호와가 마로 고도아를 쪽 그래 나데가 살았더니 사지 거성 비슷한 감 정리 봐 아니 요거 타쇼가 왔다 들이래 벨라 타이바래 야 진짜 땡사봐 대답을 얘네요 아긴 콘데 탐지 대답이 자치와 땡사봐 콘데 니와테 이제 랑인 제비 이제는 즉발했어 이제는 즉발했네 랑이다 제비 했어 랑이다 강대지 별나 농보 치보지 차잖아 농보 치보지 뭐 야지요 저 야가에도 오만 저 지요래 또 마소로 사잡았더니 속요래 제가 농보 찍으러 그래 제가 차잖아 이제 적적 강해 저쪽 좀 보세요 또 저쪽 좀 보. 섭섭도 소리 좀 봐. 네. 네나 생동반인데 마 코라사고 뭐저 나도 나다 나도 생들었더니 마 코라 차요. 나다 나도 좀 봐라더니 뉴모 봐 쪽지 레레 쪽쪽쪽지 뉴모 봐 보고 제트지 좀 차네. 제트는 노아를 또 뉴모 봐 쪽. 메도를 메도나지. 야, 조퍼산지 인핀세메 좀 저세라는 거서. 다다 동네 말에 답대도 너무 좀 호바를 동네더라. 제 감내서 나진에서 다 나진에 손들이 지고 사월들 마마마마마마 사로고요. 야, 조퍼산지 인핀세메 좀. 인핀을 넣었더니 그래 내가 사먹게 되와 타숙 사지사게 되와 사지 고성 시작하 근데 이제 도지가 개발하다 찌빠지 찌찌 가르다 랑 세군대로 데레에서 찌찌를 남기다 드레니 데레스
So I have an announcement. There is a Honda CRV Silver with Virginia license plates. What is with this Honda? But the lights are on. Okay. तिला मोठा चिकलॉक पाडे तो मोठा चिकला लॉक पाडे तो
लोक पार
लॉक पाडे
लोक पार
लो मोठा चिसिलोगला मोठा चिलोरे वाला चिलोगला मोठा ला लोक पाडे तो ते बेरे जोंग लो वा लोक जोंग लो खरा मोठा इंसरे लोक से बोले मुझे
साचो सम्मत है
What is that class making announcement? Okay. So when the text begins, it says, everything appearance and existence, samsara and nirvana, has a single ground, yet two paths and two fruitions. So everything, appearance and existence, everything that appears and exists within this world, the entire universe is condensed into samsara and nirvana. Nirvana is very, samsara is very vast. It consists generally of the 6 different realms of samsara, and nirvana consists of the infinite pure lands of the Buddha's three kayas. So both samsara and nirvana are infinite, very vast and very deep. And there is nothing that is not contained within samsara and nirvana. All phenomena are contained. So although it is very vast, it possesses one single ground, yet two paths and two fruitions. So the ground, the basis, is one and the same, just like one big tree. On a big tree, the trunk is growing up, and then there's the leaves and the branches on top, and all the fruits are growing, and then one goes down to the roots. The tree consists of many parts, upper part and lower part. Yet it has one single ground, one single basis. So this basis is likened to Buddha nature, the utterly clear mind, a union of clarity and emptiness. So then from this emptiness, which refers then to the lower part, samsara has arisen. So the lower part of the tree refers to samsara, which has arisen from the seed of self-grasping. Then from self-grasping, the 6 afflictive emotions have arisen, and each of those 6 afflictive emotions again possesses 6 more emotions, and then they are again divided until one gets to a number of 84,000 different afflictive emotions. So those 6 afflictive major emotions, just like the seeds of a flower, bring about the 6 realms of samsara. It is said in the 37 bodhisattva practices, all suffering without exception comes from wishing for one's own happiness. So all the suffering that we experience within samsara arises from the self-grasping mind. So that is what is referred to with the lower part. This self-grasping is very heavy, and it makes one fall more and more down. Then it continues in the 37 bodhisattva practices. The perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. When we give rise to the altruistic mind that seeks the benefit of others, then temporarily we will be reborn as gods as humans, and ultimately we will achieve the state of Buddhahood. We will accomplish the pure lands of the Buddha's 3 kayas. So although samsara and nirvana are vast, they have one single ground, one single basis, and that is the nature of mind itself.
The Jevanity Congress, Redam Marik Comfortes, Redam Marik, Semper they looked at Ranga Toda Mato Chivares. Ranga Semper they looked at Rang 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 Shirap, Rato Shirap, Rang Shirap, Rang Nero Tona, Rang Shirap, and then Rang Tardi. Sem Sapton Sujuk. D. Semper they looked at the Sajachimbo, Pachimbo, Machibo, Kanto. Semper they looked at Tawa, Ranga they looked at Ranga Hakosuna. They're shipped. Semper they looked at Tonsona. Sanji Tere. Semper they looked at Tonsona, Kariping Urina. Semper they looked at Shirap Latine. 근데 그걸 내가 규탐체 받아 뉴모바다 나도그 당고 뉴모바다 나도샤 되게 레사 되게 박샤야 고와탐지 될 수도 있고 하고 요리 되게 각샤와 탐질 저봐요 말이 저봐면은 렉나 세군대로 광통통들이 상제에 대망통은 망통을 걸려 나오냐 바다다 나다 다다 망아 나메 봐 나다도 봐 나메 봐 나도 좀 와서 근데 동부터 주다가 나도 강탁도 되는 르듬 맞아 샘sem는 뭐 성급은 내려올 때였더니 요매 딱제 타져다 나와 수장되는 통마다가 또 사제마다 통마다 말해 대망통은 좀 되게 들이다 산지 생기니 렉당 말하게 총소리 좀 해서 대라 군도정보 공금 뭐람기에 탐지 취지형 포랑들 취지형 포랑들 취지형들 딱 생분대로 도지청 공부한 데 있나 탐지 주섬지 사지 탐실이라 찌르 지나 그거요 사지 찌르 탐을 잡지는 저거 사지 찌르 탐지 상지라 야와 탐지 이실롱 찌송 보지봐 뒤던 거래 내록 대나 취지형 대리 뒤던가 박제 타져다 잡아 뒤던가 탐지 뒤던가 문벌도 상자고 탐지 뒤제 내록 당들나 대트 발소스 하고는 이제 내록랑 저 랑오랑 시지 봐 뒤던가 내록 뒤던가 탐지 내트 발소스
So it says has two fruitions and magically displays as awareness or unawareness. So these two fruition refers to either recognizing the nature of the mind or not recognizing the nature of the mind, realizing or not realizing it. When one realizes mind's nature, one directly beholds the self-knowing, self-illuminating intrinsic awareness. And when one realizes that through the wisdom looking at its nature, one realizes the union of clarity and emptiness, which is one's own intrinsic self-illuminating and self-knowing awareness. And that is given the name Mahamudra, Dzogchen, or Madhyamaka. It is given 3 different names. So what it comes down to is to understand and realize the nature of one's mind. If one directly beholds this nature, then this is the Buddha. This is enlightenment. So what is the benefit of that? Is that when through recognizing, through realizing with wisdom, one recognizes that the manner in which samsara is established, and one sees that first afflictive emotions or thoughts arise within the mind, then we engage in action, so we accumulate karma, and these karmas leave an imprint in our minds, they form a propensity, and in this way samsara is established. So when one understands that, one will not grasp at whatever arises within the mind, and if there is no grasping within the mind, one directly sees the clear nature of mind itself, and that is the inner Buddha. Those who do not see this nature, they hold on to a self where there is no self. When one actually looks inside and investigates this self, one will not find it within the body, and one will also not find it being established anywhere within the mind. If one looks at this nature directly as it is, one sees that it is free from existence or non-existence. It is free from the 4 extremes. There is nothing whatsoever to be seen. That is the self-knowing intrinsic awareness. So then Kuntuzangpo forms a prayer saying, through Kuntuzangpo's prayer, may all beings become Buddhas, completely perfected in the abode of the Dharmadhatu. So when the abode of the Dharmadhatu refers to like the palace of the the expanse of reality. It refers to the nature of the mind or Vajradhara. That is encompassing the Buddhas of the 3 times, and one can say that one single Buddha, or the nature of one's mind, encompasses all the Buddhas of the 3 times, because it is said all the victorious ones share one single wisdom expanse, and that is the nature of one's own mind, which is beyond eternalism or nihilism. It is beyond the four extremes. So Kuntuzangpo is praying, may all sentient beings become perfectly complete, enlightened in that state. May they see their own face. May they recognize their own intrinsic awareness. Then it continues saying, the ground of all is compounded, and the self-arising great expanse beyond expression has neither the name samsara nor nirvana. So the ground of all refers to the nature of one's mind, and within this nature there is nothing to be seen, and there is no seer, and everything is contained within this mind's nature. Everything within samsara and nirvana is grounded within this nature of the mind. And this nature of mind, this ground of all, is uncompounded. Uncompounded means it is non-established. It lacks inherent existence. It lacks any substantial self-sufficient existence. There's nothing to be seen whatsoever. It is beyond expression and therefore abides like the expanse of space. When one sees the nature of the mind as it is, this nature is beyond verbal expression. It cannot be articulated with words. This is the lineage of the practice blessing lineage, where we realize mind's nature through the transmission, but we cannot express the with words or conceptions. So it is that it is inexpressible, being beyond conception and beyond description. The outer example of mind's nature is the sky, the vast expanse of the sky. We can look up and see the sky, but then we cannot really point the finger at the sky and say, where is its boundary, where is its center, what is its shape, what is its color. We cannot determine these qualities of the sky. These cannot be seen. So when one looks inward at the mind itself, then in a like manner, there is nothing whatsoever to be seen. There is nothing that is established that possesses any characteristics within the mind. So that is what is meant with the ground of all is uncompounded. There is nothing to be seen whatsoever. So when one directly sees the nature of the mind as it is, one recognizes that this cannot be given any name, neither samsara or nirvana, nor the Buddha or sentient beings. It is a union of clarity and emptiness and abides like the expanse of space. It is utterly pure from the very beginning, and it cannot be given any name. Until one has realized the enlightened intent of the Buddhas, one gives it the names Buddha or sentient being, but in actuality it cannot be determined by such names. Lord Kuntuzangpo has said, mind's nature cannot be given any name. It cannot be called Mahamudra or Dzogchen. These are only imputation or names. And as soon as one grasps at a name, it is a mental fixation. And if there is a mental fixation, one does not directly behold the nature of mind as it is. So when one releases all mental fixation, then one will realize the state which is inexpressible beyond description and conception. It is transcending words and characteristics. It cannot be expressed with speech. It can only be realized by one's own self-knowing, self-illuminating awareness in an instant. Whenever one sees this nature, it is realized, but it cannot be expressed by any words or names. So then it says, so regarding this it says, and the self-arising great expanse beyond expression has neither the name samsara nor nirvana. Realizing just this, you are a Buddha. Not realizing this, you are being wandering in samsara. So realizing this self-illuminating awareness, that will lead to the realization of Dharmakaya, which is the inner Buddha. And that can be realized in any moment, in an instant, upon direct realization. So the word Buddha in Tibetan means Sangye, and the first syllable Sang refers to purifying of all fixations, of all grasping. And Ye refers to abiding vast like the expanse of the sky. The union of clarity and emptiness abides vast like the sky. This is enlightenment. Not realizing this, through ignorance, one grasps at a self where there is no self, and depending on this grasping to a self, the thoughts of attachment and aversion will arise, and in this way samsara is created. All these are the magical displays of the mind. It says it magically displays as either awareness or unawareness.
Dilatili kamsam septin tamche ye ju de me be dong ru par cho ju de me ba ma ni ju ju me ba rang na thong ko yo te ju mi ji dong ru par cho Kuntuzangpo ani ya ju ji me ba je dong de ni je le rang zong ru o ta Kuntuzangpo khong kang le de rang ru pa rang zong ru pa de je me ma ki 金 저 가나야 마주봐. 다다 이제 되는 거 군지 이제 공식 같다. 남카다고. 소통 남카다고 돼. 지 이제 되래. ram종을 빠지. 빠다다 ram종을 빠지는 다. 다다 세고 내lok도 빠탑지. 세고 내lok도 빠탑지. 무슨 것이기요. 아, 50바트다. 설담도 체크 통을들이 송거요. 동고보트 랑거랑거 마펑거 빠져. 이지 제가 말이. 동고 가리들을 뺀다다. 남편은 그 다와도 타르 보리. 남편은 그 다완데리 되는 하자 타르 보이는 다완데는 좀 못 좀. 다완데리 좀 못 좀 봐라 이제. 동고보트들이 다한 것을 랑거 세고 내려 가도 돌아서 이 랑랑 타 주봐도. 아, 동야 요래. 대 sem대식 좀 그런 이제 사제 이 제출을 되래. 근데 랑거 가도 통로들이 나타 주봐. 동야 요래. 그래서 대 주도 매 이제 동들 빨리 초 좀 꺼서 뭐 그런 거. 돈남을 해야지.
So then it continues here. I pray that all you beings of the three realms may realize the true meaning of the inexpressible ground. So this ground cannot be expressed verbally, and so that means that it can only be seen through one's own realization. Only oneself, through directly seeing one's own awareness, can realize its nature. So there it says, I, Kuntuzangpo, have realized the truth of this ground, free from cause and condition, which is just the self-arising awareness. So Kuntuzangpo refers to the self-arising awareness inherent within one's own mind. And that self-arising means it is not created by causes and conditions. It has arisen, self-arisen. It abides like the expanse of the sky, and it is a union of clarity and emptiness. So all those who have realized this nature, this self-arisen intrinsic awareness, may use some approximate words or terminology to point at its nature, but in actuality, until one has directly seen or realized this self-arising nature, one will not have a firm conviction in this nature. So in actuality, it abides like the expanse of space, and when we talk about this in terms of the view, it may seem to be very distant. We say it cannot be pointed at with one's finger, and this is this high view. In actuality, it is inherent within one's mind, and whenever one directly sees the nature of the mind, whenever one looks at its nature, one may see this self-arisen intrinsic awareness at any moment. It refers to one's own Buddha nature, the basis of one's own mind. That is the enlightened Buddha, and whenever one sees this nature, one has gained confidence in the nature. And so it is Samantha Bhadra's prayer that all sentient beings may recognize this self-arising true nature.
대니 이제래 ram종을 빠디 공급배 책 long 대단한 통수는 홍화당, 투바당, 나왜 투바당 이를 뒤 통수 진리가 열 많이 받았다 자치와 땡사빠지 연나야 대물라리 배송을 강리지라 타마리 시바 김바도 어쩌다 냠니 라면에 갑자다 대땅 통카보지 가이 버리지 다다 매 소소소소 요리 샘도 요리 요리 가리리 오 랑상못다나 랑그 샘을 랑그 쳤더니 심피 찜피 쥐쥐 이거 사와사와 코 제거요 코면 찍다 제거 말하거든요 미치 속에야 다들 안 되는 이 초포가 그러나 네 가리가 또 것도 찍잖아요 네 샘능을 빡하를 빡샤를 뿌이는 통고도 저 하고 심피 시바 네래 타마 시바지만 소소상은 요다 요 이제 만들어야 돼 근데 강에서 람성으로 봤대 근데 저거 줄에 강에서 다 강리종 딱제 동사용만 다보 강에서 다다 강데 타마 강으로 제가 내서도 저랑을 과들 딱제더라 호대서 콩 싸울 톱고 요 말이 거래 되잖아 될때니 다다 소속해. 오, 통 가버려서 하야 말해. 오, 다다 요다 요이지 말해. 랑게 자와chen 그게 시바 되래지. 남시 되면 알아 그래서 남발 시바. 남지 세 연락 독주 자와chen 대 철독주잖아. 그리고 랑게 뭐 광 철독주잖아. 다 맹도 자와 다 갖고 버려. 다 대변 통주요 말. 좀더 생주요 말. 자는 해야 요 말이. 다 들리더니 배 갑자기 갖고 있는 거지. 단 대리에서 또 몰래서 뭐 가라. 나그 관대리 관대 우리 종래 시바 신분이들 파서 열 남도 통기 시반대 대종 대독주 출 마셔와지 대유는 뭐 정도 대대고 차나 다다 열이 마셔라 대리 절 ram종을 봐대 ram종을 정도 봐대 자연 상호 때문에 남에 내가 봐서 다나 학고래 대라 서나 로고 중마다시 이 설라독들은 설라요 말이지. 양 나는 진짜 요도 봐요. 나는 독들은 나는 요 말이 서로 열지 꼭 작가나 복까지 가와는라게. 작가나 복까지 가와는 도뉴선 독도 참아 진리 요라. 그 샘도 탑지 요라. 다 주로 봐도 가와도야. 설라도 나는도 자라도 자라도 딱겠다. 이제 설독들 하고요 말과. 나는 독도 하고 말이 선한 가요 하고 말이 노를 때 잡대베라지 서낭지 로 거르는 오르빠는 독들은 맹다사 요 말이 요바를 로다들 요들 꼭 강화도 역하도 치마 직접 도사 요 말이 다 매적되나 다들 요바 많이 자외 담마서 매바 많이 고대 거지도 요들 옆다 가도 사제가 타고 말이지. 통고 말이지. 매바 말인 고대지가 그 제그 우리 제가 다 빼 갖고 있는서 로거드는 요대 동조야 매지. 요 말이 돼 해줘야 매스다. 나 로거 좀 맞다시. 로거 좀 독사 요 말도 좀 지지가.
So this self-arising intrinsic awareness cannot be determined through being seen, cannot be seen, it cannot be heard of, nor can it be thought of. It is beyond the intellect. It is very vast and deep, and Milarepa has said it is just this present, ordinary, naked awareness, consciousness. So when we apply this to practice, it may seem to be very difficult to realize, but it is something that is not beyond one's own mind. It is something that one can recognize for oneself if one simply looks inward. When you look inside your own mind, this awareness, this self-arisen awareness is nothing but the clear knowing capacity that knows all the actions, all the things that are to be accomplished in this world. So for example, when you have a cup of water, it is that awareness that recognizes this cup of water and understands its function, and that it can be drunk and so forth. So it is this clear knowing capacity, this clear knower, which is this self-arisen awareness. So this self-arisen awareness cannot be found anywhere. When you look inward and you question where is this awareness, where has it arisen from, where does it abide, and where does it go in the end, you will not be able to determine that. If you look inside, you will not be able to locate this awareness. So it is very difficult to determine its existence. So therefore it can be determined to be non-existing, and yet it cannot said to be non-existing either. So it is difficult to directly behold its nature, and yet it is there right now at present. It is this present naked awareness that can be recognized at any time. Milarepa has put it simply, saying it is that knowing awareness, this clear knowing capacity that knows which actions to engage in. So if you look at that awareness itself, you cannot determine it, you cannot give it any name, it cannot be seen, and if you look for it, you will not find it. For a beginning practitioner, when you look inside your own mind, it is this clear knowing capacity, that knower that sees all the thoughts and mental arisings within the mind, and that is what needs to be investigated. And that is what is present within your mind right at this moment. So in this way you can understand this self-arisen awareness. So then here it continues saying, it is unstained by outer expression and inner thought, affirmation or denial, and is not defiled by the darkness of unmindfulness. Thus the self-manifesting display is free from defects. So it cannot said to be either outer, abiding outside externally, and it can also not said to be abiding internally. It pervades everything. So you cannot say it is somewhere else external, like it is somewhere in India, or it is in China, or it is in Tibet. But it also is not captured within. It pervades everything. So in brief, we can say that this mind transcends the inner and the outer and pervades everything. So that it says it is beyond affirmation or denial, and it is not defiled, and also it is free from any defects. When you look within, it is beyond affirmation or denial, meaning it is beyond existence or non-existence. So when you look inside and you look for its existence, you will not find anything. It possesses no form, no shape, no color, no characteristics. There is nothing to be seen whatsoever. And at the same time, you cannot say it does not exist, because it is the one who creates all of samsara and nirvana. And yet it is free from any defects, as it is primordially pure.
냠니 제가 탐주 오 제마 살라 또 살라미 요리 삼선 제마 매버 가로 제마 매바 찾고요. 아 중대리 제미 뭐 좀 그 이것도 너무 공는 제마 매버 좀 하대. 제마 매버 좀 하대 그 마구 봐. 대 딱것도 좀 보고 말이스. 그래서 나는 좀 마구 나를 소라 내 봐라서. 대다 보더니 나를 나서 그러고랑 소라 내 되나 Put the number tail, the person on Nepal, system you can control me, the room or a chapa me. Under the system you can control me, the room or a chapa me. So now, same is a me, but the chicks are partially. The munching one, you're married now. The territory. They to marry. Now, same is a me. The Jalani, Dandy. 가만히 봐요. 이 보리지. 하나 이게 정말 좀 나샘이 좀 스스럼 직장 하다면 도용을 잡아내려 봐. 어때? 도용을 잡아내. 그거라고는 내 되나? 그거라고는 내 되나? 그거랑 소리 내빠들라. 배나 이제 감자다 동소용 되라. 정상이 요 말. 정상 몇 걸을 그거 걸을 잡을는 사강도 시작통을 꽉걸 깨지죠 말. 그러니까 제 맞지를 진짜 무척 가능해요 말. 근데 짜차고 동의요 말. 나와도 다시 점았다 그래. 점아도 별로 조이는 것도 다다. 야 통을 다 마시고 대답을 인디라. 서점 직접 하다야 매. 너요 말에 잡아야 매. 너가 용대 답지라. 잡아 신봐야 매. 잡아서 저러. 도미 시바람종을 아지 대답했더니 서로 열로 독주면 비시바람종 되라 뒤버속다 동안 메스 뒤지게 샤차가 뒤지게 샤차 속대 동안 메스 대 뒤버속다 동 뒤지게 샤차가 속대면 동안 이모 동안 요 말이지 동안 메스
But then it continues, I Kuntuzangpo abide as intrinsic awareness, even though the 3 realms were to be destroyed, there is no fear. And so coming back to the defects or the faults, generally it is said that this awareness is free from defects, it is clear and free from any faults. When it comes to practice, sometimes we are aware and sometimes we are unaware, and when we are unaware, then this is where the faults arise from. So this clear knowing mind, though, the nature of mind itself is free from those defects at all times. So it refers that the clear knowing capacity itself is free from the defects of distraction. So when one sees the nature of mind as it is, this clear knowing, self-knowing capacity, one directly sees the enlightened intent of Kuntuzangpo. And so he says, even though the 3 realms were to be destroyed, there is no fear. If one abides within the nature of one's own intrinsic awareness, then even if the entire universe would come to an end, there is no fear. That is because although the universe may be destroyed, one's own awareness can never be destroyed, as one's own awareness has not been created by causes and thus cannot be destroyed by conditions. It is beyond causes and conditions. It is self-arisen. It is just like a TV where a movie is playing. It arises and again like something arises and then again it comes to a cessation, and nobody really has created that. It is just like an illusion. One recognizes the entire universe to be just like that. It arises, it comes to a cessation, and at the same time it is an illusion. So there is no fear. There is no attachment to the 5 desirables of sense objects. There is neither solid form nor the 5 poisons. So if there is no solid form, which refers to one's own compounded body of flesh, blood, and bones, if that is not existing, then in the same way the 5 afflictive emotions inside do not exist.
대연아 다단디 서점직장 하자면도 용어를 잡아면데 디 뉴버 속도 동아메이소 유몽 동아나 대레송들이 레나바나도 살들이 바차를 르듯이 르드 요나들이 정상탑들 르드를 연구요리 빼나 대다워서 꽝시들라 되니 빼나 저 조경미 동안면 옆에서 자체를 되니까 군주당포 도지 장제 되라 제주가 되라서 봐 이전에 매봤더니 마수다 깼다고 성분대로 도지 장 성분대로 통화 탐쪽에 들었더니 제주 가야 매봤다고 되라 서섬지가 마다야 뭐 누군가 잡아야 뭐 딱딱 냠이 재미 탑지가 하고 그러라 양서 말아와 탑지가 가리나 삼래 양 대통령이 또도 맞도 제봤더니 되라 대다 제사당 가 시식을 제사를 동물과 마시나 야고가 마시사 야고가 가 시시 됐어 가 시시 쇼고가 뭐야 대통령 사요를
And so it says, even though the 3 realms were to be destroyed, there is no fear, there is no attachment to the 5 desirable qualities of sense objects. And so we give rise to the 5 afflictive emotions, and depending on these, we engage in action that accumulate karma, and these karmas leave an imprint within our mind. And so these imprints establish the bodies, establish the forms. All the fears that we are experiencing, we actually are experiencing in dependence on this body. So those who recognize their own intrinsic awareness, they abide within the clarity of their own mind, and recognize that this state itself, which is called Samantabhadra or Vajradhara, it is beyond cessation, it is beyond death. If you investigate, that nature of the mind itself is Vajradhara. There is no fear of destruction, as this mind is beyond destruction. Then there is no attachment to the 5 desirables. That is something that true practitioners will understand, and how that comes about. Those who do not practice will not really understand that and will have many doubts about that. And so again, where the difference lies is with either recognizing or not recognizing mind's nature. So I'm just explaining to the best of my abilities.
Rinpoche cha manga bang wo chik le yi nga po me ba le Thomas Haje nga so tini di razong rikpa yi shi chenpo de la wo chik le yi nga so koto zambu gongpa tata nga so rangi rikpa wo de la koto zambu gongpa de la so rangi rikpa wo chik pa le de sher de yi na ngô chích de rikpa sa tong song de jukpa de la ngô chích de la shi nga kaka ma yin pa pe le sher de la jima jam la pe ja chung nga kapa kang go re pe che ta san chok sem dan de na sem de sing mo de san chok sem dan de la de la sa je ko song ko yong ting yong ko yo re te tam che song ko yo re sem ngô chích de la shi nga so de ngô chích la shi nga de ka re 생 뭐지바 코랑의 용띠 제도가 말이야. 강리. 홀대가 주탑저 랑지 그 보러더니 랑지가 지금 샤려고 요래. 메롱을 정hin다고 샤려고 요래. 제가 정hin다고 샤려고 들 메롱을 좀봐요 말이야. 메롱을 강샤라들 주도. 제가 메롱다고 홀대가 주탑저 랑지 샤 양샤리도 동 샤리도 동고 좀 샤려고 요래. 제가 메롱다고 시지. 샤용어 들었더니 오 좀배가 오 좀봐요 말이야. 좀봐면 탐지 장이 강차한테 냐바이지 시소. 야. 냐바이지 시는 코대가 추탑지 됐다거나 제가 내로 뭐니 빼나. 따다다. 돈이 집대에도 돈이 여발고 쏟다다. 유모바 나빠도 발라서 뭐 샬네 대탐체를 저마쇼도 제대로 집대 소망을 돈이 집대 차증 저봐 고대가 주 대화도 또게 쫙 차증 저봐 진거로 소소적으로 많이 봐. 저 소소도 보시라 소소도 보이시지 사와 저보이 시드는 사제 거성 뭐 용딩 탑제 빼나 나카 저지 sem지 동 제대 봐도 전에도 배도 막고 라지 그 저기 거리 별로 니마고 오든 배도 거요 말이 됐다고 이신가들 라지 그 됐다고 람종들이 배도 잡아 여기 집어가 대요래 이신가 뭐 대래 제일 말이 파 제소 이신가에 따라서 자동 tuk제 다 봤어 자동 tuk제 다 봐. 라토 때다 때도 담바를 잡았더니 저와토 다다 가자 찍을 일하시고 담바를 잡한 거요. 제 생문대로 때때 라지 용띠 때다고 한 거요. 마다르다 고발이 저도 다나 다 와사지기 시간 보다 시간들이 잡고요. 와 다분한 와라들 저보다 잡아가 와는 저마마 줘라. 다다 무슨 저와도 또 때도 라이 저거 차로 요래 라지를 저요래서 대리 시사제 봐 사제 집저 사지 좀 당 사제 집저 사지 좀 이신가들 사제 집저 사지 저와 집저 사니 디 신가에 잡들 차동 쪽저 타봐这是 저를 처음하면 이제 봐대 마천을 대답을 저봐 가지고 대답해 라라 고등식 하면 여도요 레스 놀라
Then it continues in the unceasing clarity of awareness, singular in essence, there yet arises the display of the five wisdoms. From the ripening of these five wisdoms, the five original Buddha families emerge. So this self-arisen wisdom, self-knowing wisdom, has one single essence, and that essence or one single nature is the enlightened intent of Samantha Bhadram. And this enlightened intent can be recognized to be same in nature as the nature of our own mind. It is just like a crystal. The crystal itself refers to the one single nature, the nature of the unity of clarity and emptiness. And so this nature possesses 5 qualities which refer to the 5 types of wisdom. Just like when the sun rays shine upon the crystal, then the house is filled with the 5 different rainbow lights. In the same way, if Buddha nature meets with bodhicitta, then the qualities of the 3 Buddhakayas will naturally emerge, or the 5 wisdoms will naturally emerge as qualities or features of this one single nature. So this one single nature of mind possesses 5 different qualities, which are called the 5 wisdoms, which naturally arise. So all phenomena within samsara and nirvana have arisen from this ground. And all those phenomena are reflected within this nature of mind, just like the reflection in a mirror. From the side of the mirror, there is no fixation to those reflections. Anything is feasible to be reflected within this mirror. There is simply no engagement or fixation. All phenomena without fixation arise within this nature of mind, and it is recognized, they all are recognized to be illusion-like. That understanding is called the mirror-like wisdom. So then one has recognized the nature of this mind, and one refrains from engaging in any fixation. If one does not fixate, then there is no difference between good and bad. Everything is equanimous. Everything is an equanimity or equal. That refers to the wisdom of equanimity. So if all phenomena are realized to be equal in taste, one does not engage in any fixation, and one recognizes the empty nature of cause and effect. So whatever arises within this mind, afflictive emotions or concepts, generally, if ordinarily one fixates to those concepts, one will accumulate karma, and one will be under the law of the incontrovertibility of cause and effect. When one recognizes this nature, one recognizes that all the different aspects of this mind that appear within the mind, afflictive emotions and so forth, are recognized to be by this awareness are recognized to be the various different manifestations of happiness and suffering. So there is made a clear distinction between happiness and suffering and its causes. And so this clear discerning capacity is called the individually discriminating wisdom. Then the all-accomplishing wisdom, that is the enlightened qualities of the Buddhas, naturally perform the welfare of sentient beings through performing enlightened deeds free from any effort, just naturally, just like the sun rays shining, free from any effort and just naturally. So they are self-arisen and free from any effort perform the enlightened deeds for the benefit of sentient beings. So those 5 qualities or 5 wisdom naturally arise within the mind. And then each of those 5 wisdoms again is divided into 5. And then they are further divided, and one comes to the where it says here the 60 wrathful deities and the 42 peaceful deities. Then it says, and through the expanse of their wisdom, the 42 peaceful Buddhas appear. Through the arising power of the 5 wisdoms, the 60 wrathful Herukas manifest. Thus the ground awareness is never mistaken or wrong. If from the perspective of a pure perspective, if one recognizes this awareness, it will accomplish naturally the pure lands of the Buddhas. Not recognizing this awareness will lead to the creation of samsara. Basically, if one doesn't fixate to any thoughts arising in the mind, then naturally the mandalas of the peaceful and wrathful deities will be established. So if there is no grasping at whatever arises within the mind will transform into the pure lands or into the deity.
Tom Saje Ngai Bes, my Mola Tabai, Captain Colors, Ginger, Abdul Rupa, Moshile, 이집은 타제쇼서 라도를 빠는 옷이나 갔다면서 어디 최근에 라를 잡고 잡어라 이제 좀이 자사신 거지 이제 좀이 그 자사들을 빨아서 세요 그래 빨아서 세야 되는 라를 잡고 잡어야 따고 이서 갔다 쏜지 어디라다 통카집지 탐제 배나 플라이트 구는 저들이 가자 저걸 rel러를 싹 다음에 가서 또 담바르지 걸 생각함다 그래 접촉을 때 다 디스통스 가당성제 답게 자꾸 자올라 아송이 동디는 누구요 동지 봐라 될 이제 자사 마지나 대답 맹세 이제 자사 세고서 다 나를 소리내 봐라 봐라서 세되나 봐라 촉탑되는 다 대답을 가서 답게 대답을 찾고요 했지
Then it continues, I Kuntuzangpo, I'm the original Buddha of all, and through this prayer of mine, may all you beings who wander in the three realms of samsara realize this self-arising awareness, and may your great wisdom spontaneously increase. It is a prayer saying, may all sentient beings, may all beings recognize this self-arising intrinsic awareness, and that refers to the teaching from yesterday on the fivefold path, where we say you have to mount the royal seat of seeing your own body to be the form of the deity. So that is what is referred to taking the awareness taking its own seat. One recognizes one's own awareness to be in the nature of the deity. One recognizes that one's aggregates and sources and elements are in the nature of the deity. And through this recognition, they will transform into the mandala of the deity. So one single person may transform into the pure lands of all the 100 peaceful and wrathful deities. So this is referring exactly to what we have talked about yesterday, when we take the royal seat of seeing our own body to be the body of the deity. So when we talk about awareness holding its own seat, then this is what is being referred to.
너다 산지 까는들이 다들 뒷박값을 가다 냠이 오빠 탑재가 라나게 냠수 용을 오 냠이 싫어 대리 야 나 대바사오 과랑 속 뒷박값을 내가 뭐 봐 세상도 샤로나 세상도 샤마 다들 메이로도 갔어 오 세상 돌때서 말이 저정도 갔어 오 한글 저 과랑서 신나 됐다 그래 맞이는 좀 됐다 맞이는 레사 그거리 이는 뭐 배. 이는 거절이. 빨아서 신소는 대다를 소소한데 봐. 냠리라. 이거 뒤에 대다는 독 쏘면 랑랑을 타서 이치 토야 요래. 타를 뭘 따지요 말이야. 랑을 세고 내려고 내대 볼까라. 이거 뭐 같아. 그렇고 로바트들이 살을 그 요래 배나. 랑랑을 이치 제거해야지.
So this is the authentic speech of the Buddha, and those people who have engaged in practice and have gained some experience and hearing that will think, oh, this is what it is referring to, and they will have a confidence in that. So when one maintains a clear stream of mindfulness, that is what is meant with awareness holding its own seat. When awareness holds its own seat, then, for example, when anger arises, it will disappear upon arising. The anger will transform into Vajrasattva. So when one takes this seat, when awareness holds its own seat, when one is non-distracted, then one will immediately, the afflictive emotions will immediately dissipate back into the mind. Otherwise, if one doesn't take the seat of awareness, then one will give rise to afflictive emotions and grasp at them, engage in action, and that will serve as the cause for further samsara. It is up to oneself for one's own awareness to hold its own seat. The qualities for doing so, the potential, are contained within oneself, and all that one needs to cultivate is a conviction in this potential. One shouldn't think that this is something that is very distant and very far away. this awareness of the mind's nature itself, if awareness or if recognition is maintained, then whatever afflictive emotions appear in that instance, they will be liberated and transformed into the deity. So in this way, one must gain a confidence, a trust in one's own inner awareness. So then my emanations will continuously manifest in billions of unimaginable ways, appearing in forms to help you beings who can be trained. So the emanations of Samantabhadra or of the Buddha appear continuously. So from the perspective of those whose mind stream has not been ripened and who are to be ripened, various Nirmanakaya manifestations appear in order for them to be tamed. So they appear in various forms that they can be seen, heard of, touched, or thought of. A myriad Nirmanakaya emanations appear, and they appear also in the different bodies in the 6 realms of samsara, according to the needs of sentient beings. So amongst the human beings, they appear as people, such as our lamas, our teachers, or doctors, physicians, or anybody who brings about the benefit and welfare of sentient beings. Anybody who brings about the happiness of sentient beings can said to be a Nirmanakaya emanation of the Buddha. These are called the external Nirmanakaya emanations. So the internal Nirmanakaya then refers to one's own true nature, one's own Buddha nature that pervades the minds of all sentient beings. Lord Chikden Sungön has said, all sentient beings' minds are pervaded by the Buddhas. The Buddhas are inherent within the minds of all sentient beings. And this Buddha nature is called the perfection of wisdom or the self-arising awareness. And basically it is one's own mindfulness and one's own inner wisdom. It is always present, and once there is a mind, this awareness is present, whether one has realized this awareness or not. As the Buddha has said, all sentient beings are endowed with Buddha nature, only temporarily they are obscured by stains. So what are those temporary stains? Those stains are our own fixations to the self. And from these self-grasping minds, the 5 afflictive emotions arise, and gradually we form the 4 obscurations. So these 4 obscurations are the subtle obscurations to all-knowingness, and then the obscurations of afflictive emotions, the obscurations of karma, and the obscurations of karmic propensities. So gradually the water becomes a frozen ice block. So internally, this Nirmanakaya refers to one's own Buddha nature that pervades the minds of all sentient beings. Gampopa has said, the cause is Buddha nature within, the support is the precious human incarnation, and the condition is the spiritual friend, is the teacher. So the spiritual friends are those actual teachers that we are encountering in this life. These are Nirmanakaya manifestations of the Buddha, and they are manifold. There is the arisen, the created, the myriad, and many more Nirmanakaya manifestations of the Buddha. According to the Vajrayana, one recognizes through pure perception anything that brings a benefit to sentient beings to be an emanation of the Buddha. For example, a tree can be seen as a Nirmanakaya emanation. So for example, a tree gives the refuge for various little life forms like animals who have taken on without choice an inferior incarnation due to their ignorance. So the tree gives them protection, like a house and so forth. So all these are emanations of the Buddha. The Buddha appears in whichever form necessary in order to tame sentient beings. So that is what is meant with appears in unimaginable ways continuously. So we have obtained a precious human incarnation, which is the support, and this support enables us to attain enlightenment within only one single lifetime, within only one single body. So we have the cause, Buddha nature, and the support, the precious human incarnation. And still, if we do not encounter the condition, which is the spiritual friend, we will not attain enlightenment within one single lifetime, within one single body. So all of these causes for enlightenment and happiness and benefit of sentient beings must be recognized to be an emanation of the Buddha. And especially the Guru, the teacher that we encounter, we cultivate a conviction and an awareness of this Guru to be the actual Buddha. So the Buddha manifests in whatever way necessary to train sentient beings. And when we understand that, then we will cultivate a devotion and pure perception towards anything.
나도 또 나의 특징 보나 이제 감성 콜을 생기고 럭 내내 되버리고 감성 샘지 탐지 들다가 로 샘지 탐지야 야들직 좀 보여 그 들바다 들다 들지 이거 앞에는 거 들바다 버려 죽거래 좋아를 좀 탐마섬지 죽거인 집도 우리 샘들직 좀 보고 대는 샘들직 좀 보도 요나 다다카시 마 낭바리 포스와 마 사자 고개로 탐지 다디는 소지 있어도 뭐 다지 진짜 담을 들이요 다와지 그리 대려면 뭐 동안 담을 지는 거기에 차고 싫어 오 저다가 습지 탑지 처럼 다 그래지 저지가 파파 탑지들이 공나봐 초 정보 다 그래지 오 되나 처럼 저 뭐 지 봐라 저다가 저지 봐라더니 저와 이제 차고 싫어 니 줄을 소리장 가자라 빼나 따라담라 여기 말이 되나 르족네니 통 르족네니 털바 타로 따강래 사제게 파세트과 람파르드서 봐 족좀 구요리 안무서지 조사 일나도 봐 대라서 봐 이모 족이 보라 대탐지 대탑다발라서 좀 대탐지 뛰네 근데 나랑 그 내가 뛰네 진짜 족네니 또 덮고요 그래 족네니 처럼 뜻이들 사월에
So then, through my compassionate prayer, may all you beings who wander in the three realms of samsara escape from the six life forms. So all the sentient beings in the three realms of samsara, or the six realms of samsara, are called the attainable ones. But all sentient beings are endowed with Buddha nature on their basis, and because they are endowed with Buddha nature, they are in actuality nirmanakayas themselves. So this is where there is then no more distinction between those who tame and the tameable ones. They all are nirmanakaya emanations. So all sentient beings in the six realms of samsara are endowed with Buddha nature. And if they are endowed with Buddha nature, they are emanations of the Buddha. They are nirmanakaya emanations. Some may hold different views, and they say, oh, I'm a Buddhist and this is not a Buddhist, or I'm a Sakya and this is a Gelokpa. They make different distinctions that arise from a self-grasping dualistic mind. And so depending on this dualistic mind, the five afflictive emotions arise, and in this way samsara comes into existence. So somebody who recognizes that will see that the mind of sentient beings is just like a frozen ice block, but it is same in nature of flowing water, which is likened to the mind of those who do the taming, those tamers. So the nature of ice and water is one and the same. And understanding that, one will see the closer relation between the tamers and the tameable ones. So then one will not make any distinction between certain traditions or religions. One will not engage in any bias whatsoever. So then he says, escape from the 6 million beings and escape from the 6 life forms. So in order to escape from the 6 life forms, the Buddha has taught various paths and methods. He has taught the path of the 6 paramitas, or the 7-limbed prayer, which is the antidote against the 6 afflictive emotions. So depending on this skillful myriad path, the ice block can easily be melted.
Tēnā rīk dukī tāwā kāngi sōng pā gōsō dārzā sīpchī tāpchī kī dukī dī tā rīk tōk rīk tāwā kāngi sōng sōng kārī rī sōng nīmōng tōk rī nīmō mā tōk kāngi sōng dādī nī sōng dōlā hōwā rā tāku rā dādī rī tāku rā dādī dī kārī kī shik kōg rī yībī kī lōg shik kōg 공리 자세라리도 족보산이 인피 세면 쪽 단디데 이불이 인피마도 인피가 로도 깨잖아 고도 산족처럼 뭐지 인피 로가 인피 로데 맞게봐 깨와세봐 깨와면 야바 탑라더니 다 누가 바로서 봐쪽 추당지기서 강제래양 하르드스 바쪽 데레티니들이 공리 패배다로 데레 조조 이나다 봐. 데레 데라서 봐. 데레 상하게 하게 이나게 봐. 데라서 봐. 공리 기본上좀 타스물었더니 사제가 사람 특별하고 그런 뭐 따졌더니 와보라도 타스물었더니 소통 하스물라 남자를 봐 띵이짱 남자를 봐 저도 망양 떠와서 가리를 쳤다 진짜 떠와가지고 새벽에 떠와가지고 이피걸로 쳤대요 사제 그 랑코바를 타는 지탑에 탑디바지 강 랑코바를 타지 제가 잠이도 초사 산지지 찍고사요 바로도 서봐 독자들은 제법가리 산중제가 소소 일나도 봐 퍼버 제법가리 대바로 대바티가 너들은 사제를 대바오는 사제를 제와오는 대바를 겨루고 샘기를 제와오는 행제를 빼라 대모 삼바는 행제를 대란 거 세부 유el하면 다다른 대화도 대비 지어서 대나 근데 쭉 잡아서 가는 시골에 대리들은 독들이 통 보는 것들이 싸를 막 이제 들이 뒤에서 또 다지서 톡대고 봐. 대사 보여도 셈나 좀나 근데 가리 냠미잖아 냠미 싸도도 센터고요. 때문에 사만 보려 산나다 가리 빙 빼는 데 사모만 보다는 것들이 가리 망보절이 나게 진짜 가야만 해 봤더니 망보는 거 열어봐. 내가 이거 기업에서 가래질 때 제어들 고쳐올 때 대바지 습기는 되어서 방금 semna lep고 와.
So the suffering experienced by those untamable sentient beings within samsara, where does it come down to? All the suffering of samsara has its root in the 6 afflictive emotions. And these 6 afflictive emotions have their root in a self-grasping mind. The only method to escape from samsara is to dispel the self-grasping mind. And the only method to dispel the self-grasping mind is the altruistic mind that seeks the benefit of others. As it is said in the 37 practices, the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So the only antidote against self-grasping is the altruistic mind of loving kindness and compassion. Conventional bodhicitta is the altruistic mind that seeks the benefit of others. And we first apply methods to give rise where it has not arisen, and to not let it decline where it has arisen, through the practice of the 6 paramitas. In a dharma or in a mundane context, we engage in a practice of the 6 paramitas, or we offer the 7-limb prayer, or in the Vajrayana tradition, we offer the 8-limb prayer. So the Buddha has taught various stages and paths according to the mental capacities of sentient beings. Mental capacities may be highest, middling, or inferior. So depending on these capacities, the Buddha has taught the different stages of the path of the individual liberation or the pratimoksha, then the bodhisattva or the Vajrayana teachings. So although the teachings are many, they all come down to one single root. As it was said, do not cut the root of phenomena or dharmas, but cut the root of the mind. So where it all comes down to is a mind of loving kindness and compassion. And so only depending on that mind, the Buddha himself has attained enlightenment. The Buddha has engaged in the accumulation of merit for 3 countless aeons, and what he was accumulating was nothing but loving kindness and compassion. He has engaged in a practice of the 6 paramitas, and ultimately love and compassion became great. And then when we practice on the 7-limb prayer, as a result of that, we give rise to perfect devotion to the 3 jewels. So in brief, it comes down to a mind of love. When it is directed towards the Buddha, it manifests as devotion, and when directed to sentient beings, this love manifests as compassion. It has one single nature, and that is the mind of love. That mind, even if it arises right now in this moment, is the cause for all happiness. So this is the root of the mind that needs to be cut. Gradually, one must determine the root of samsara, and one determines that it comes down to a mind of self-grasping. That again and again needs to be actualized and very clearly thought of, until one perfectly in the end comes to an understanding. This is the root of all the suffering. Otherwise, if we think too much and we think there are so many practices to do, there's this and that practice, then we experience many great difficulties and we do not really apprehend a certain practice or a certain root, a certain essence. We have to determine where do all the virtuous actions that we engage in with body and speech come down to. They come down to the devotion to the three jewels and the mind of love for all sentient beings.
Tambo semji chapana, vijala rekpa masharve, jia chimi, tome was. Oh, semji tamchen chapa go kangne tamyo. Kashi go, kowa de toma ngera go, kowa toma kangle. 사지 그때 라사 말이지. 사지 토마미 바지. 원래 송을 봐. 코로 토마 저 줄하고 뭐 줄한거 다다다다란 거 색을 내가 뭐 말을 봐 디바리 봐. 대학원에 다다란 디바리 들지. 근데 그 요로 봐. 토마미 바다 가르게 돼. 그러나 주지 더 맞고 송을 봐. 파취 더 하지는 토마미 봐. 내가 사지게 토마미 바지 야저더라. 되나 강에 담보 생기 좀 만에 jel을 봐 마셔. 저도 토미가 새 강에 중요하면 봐. 토미 다들 내가 탁체도 답에 미소 다가 니 걱정 배 다지 뭐. 니 걱정을 못하나다. 니 걱정 답에 야 버려. 그래서 sem 기반이 봐. 대리. 저기 토미가 제가 말을 접해줘서. 나그 지시를 봐. 오 심사오지 당가 양을 추사와래 양 갖다 대라서 라면 소절을 나가 심사오 지시 바용을 대고 좀 대봐서오나 대요 때문에 대서 탈지 내가 대다 지는 마제라 가라요 말이 밤에 봐 대 밤에 방에 무게와 가요 맞을 삼는 밤에 봐지 지 가시가 쏘나 give topa, Lomatin topa, some years, give Lomatin topa. The things to go so get it in Lomatin, made the Lomatin topa, the book. Or Mugivare. One time, but it said of several drip over. Chetam, partly by the teacher with the Kawapavan to Kuyori. Simply Vami, what they are, yes, Jack to me, Tomega.
From the beginning, you beings are deluded because you do not recognize the awareness of this ground. Being thus unmindful of what occurs is delusion, the very state of unawareness and the cause of going astray. So sometimes people ask, where is there a beginning of samsara? When has it all begun? But the Buddha has not determined that. The Buddha has said, since time without beginning, there is no beginning to samsara, and there is no point in looking for the beginning for samsara, because one needs to investigate the mind right now, the unaware state, the ignorant state at the present time. Right now, we must cultivate mindfulness, and if you have cultivated mindfulness in this moment, then that is sufficient. There is no need to look at the beginning of the unmindfulness. As it is said, do not cut through phenomena, but cut through the root of your mind. So there is no need to determine the beginning of samsara. There is only a need to establish mindful awareness at the present moment. When we lack mindful awareness, for example, we lack mindful awareness and we have had a day of working, and then we are very tired and we feel now I need to relax, I need to sleep. And so we feel very unhappy when we relax and when we sleep. That is mindlessness. That is a lack of mindful awareness. When one possesses mindfulness, at any moment one will be very bright and very clear. And even if there is a moment to relax, one will not waste that moment but think I will engage in Dharma activity or will recite prayers or something like that. In any case, one will sustain this state of mindfulness and heedfulness at all times. Of course, when we go to work, we get tired, and if we don't work, we don't have food to eat. But it is that mindless state, that heedlessness, that we think, oh, I'm not engaging in non-virtuous deeds, I'm just relaxing, I'm just being unmindful. But even that is obscuring the nature of the mind. Sometimes we make a distinction between three concepts that our mind is under the influence of, either virtuous, non-virtuous, or neutral. Lord Kuntuzangpo has said, though, actually, the neutral doesn't really exist. Only virtuous and non-virtuous do exist. And that is because what we call the neutral actually is ignorance, and ignorance is a non-virtue, and the non-virtue therefore belongs under the domain of the non-virtue thoughts. And this non-virtue thought of ignorance continuously falls down onto our mind like snowflakes falling down continuously, and continuously obscures the nature of the mind. So this state of unmindfulness, of ignorance, continuously obscures the nature of mind.
레사와 탑진도 좀 없다라 다들 해지절 람sam들이 상네들이 제가 다시 있어 홍네 그랬대라 나 차서 이런 당 빼나 총총도 이거요 빼나 다른 사람들이 메도가 살았어라 내리 장부 조건을 장부도 네 장부지 진정상 제 람상지 세고 그래 가리 정상제로 띵아 살로 다 조건들 되네. 제 나기지 조건들 다 내봐도 돼서 용선이 다지 지바지게 빼나 잡아주는 작합대 다들 정도에 다 못하기는 강화 요지 다들 좀 오지 매다버 감니 다들 좀 오지 로또 탕켜버리네 나가면도 좀 양상하는 벌고비 진지데 나도 좀 와서 좀때 다 정말 강화들이 지금 와 좀을 라고 이제 볼나 다 정말인지 다지기 좀 했더니 다 되라 나다시 봐 사대주 다 정상제 될 때는 다지 차당 똑바지 지금 나한테 또 가래 그런 잡았다 족도 용이 되려 맞춰봐 직장이 말 되려 놓바지는 마당무 직장이 말 차당 똑바지 데려 다지 다든지 박차름 저때 봐는 코발 없은 쪽 봤어. 데려 다지도 다달려들 때 다지도 유치 따는 거 좀나. 다 산이 시타라요. 이 다지도 좋은 맛이나. 루드 다소야. મં제도 봐보지. 족 매와라. 소와 뒤시 유지 납시 참아요와 다다를 루가 강에 치다. 다달이 정랑치. 다달이 강에 또게 치와들이. So
it says, from this delusive state comes the sudden fainting away and a subtle consciousness of wavering fear. From that wavering there arises a separation of self and the perception of others as enemies. For example, when we fall into a state of deep sleep, then we fall unconscious, we faint away. Or if it is just a sudden thought arising within our mind, we immediately think, oh, there is self and there is others. Then when there is self and others, a dualistic fixation, then there is an attachment to the self and an aversion against the others. And even the slightest cause will lead to attachment and aversion. For example, when you're close to a nice flower and then suddenly a bee flies, comes here, and so then you are very afraid. You think the bee will bite you. And actually that's a very small cause, but because you have an attachment to your body, even a small harm like that, you have a strong aversion, and then so you go and kill the bee, because you don't want the bee to sting you. So that is due to this grasping and the identification we have towards our own body. So in the same way, a king is identifying with his country and taking care of the country, or a householder is taking care of one's family. anything one identifies with causes an attachment to the self and an aversion against others. And that is the purpose of offering the mandala, offering everything that we possess, all our possessions, even our body again and again, as this offering diminishes self-grasping. All the grasping that we experience mainly in dependence on our own body. Depending on our own body, we give rise to an attachment to the self and an aversion against others. So when we have an aversion against others, then this in itself is a sign of the attachment to the self. So when we have a body, there is really no one who has no attachment to the self and no aversion for the others. So then here it continues, gradually the tendency of separation strengthens, and from this the circle of samsara begins. So at the time of death, if we have not separated ourselves from self-grasping, although we will separate from our bodies, still the other four aggregates will be present. The aggregates of feelings, perception, formation, and consciousness. All the aggregates apart from the body are still present, and the suffering and difficulty we experience are even stronger than the suffering we experience now in this lifetime, as long as we have the body. Then the emotions of the five poisons develop. The actions of these emotions are endless. So once we abide within samsara and engage in samsaric activities, if we lack mindful awareness and if we lack bodhicitta, then continuously the afflictive emotions will arise within our mind, and continuously we will engage in action and accumulate karma without an end. Continuously there is an attachment to the close ones, the friends, and an aversion against others, like the enemies. And that even manifests in a very small situations, like in terms of food. When there is some food that we like, we have an attachment to nice food. And then there is food we don't like, and we have an aversion, and we don't want that food. Or it is any hopes or expectations that we have, and we think, I need to do this, or I need to do that, need to accomplish this, accomplish that. And we have an attachment in terms of our own accomplishments. Then we have doubts, this will be difficult to be accomplished. That is a doubt or a fear. So those hopes and fears are also nothing but thoughts of attachment and aversion. So these thoughts of attachment and aversion continuously, uninterruptedly arise within our minds. So we engage in action depending on those thoughts, and those actions are endless. They cannot be counted. They abide within our minds like seeds, like the seeds of a flower. And for as long as the seeds abide within the mind, and until the seed comes to an end, we will experience the fruitions of these seeds, just like a growing flower. Then whatever of those afflictions is dominant, is the strongest, will determine where we will take a rebirth, anywhere within the 6 realms of samsara, and there we will experience the particular suffering for as long as this seed remains within our mind stream. And where all that comes down to, the entire fault lies within a state of unmindfulness, unawareness, or ignorance. So the only fault that creates all that is a unmindful mind.
사제가요 보나요 군제를 빠랑시 고소 빠공시 빠고 빠 대시를 빠도 누나 가려요 야 대시를 빠는 배는 탑통은 매요나 나또다 좀 강지한테 차다도 빠도 좋고요래 오 대탑제 사안내가 신보면 하고 그래 참아 됐더니 매를 줘도 그래 버식작제대 제마 매가 참아 내서 또 그래 대시 봐요나 누구가 탐지 안 되기 싫은 거 요래 지서는 그저 빠랑시 고소 빠랑오시 봐 고소
So therefore, Samantabhadra says, you beings lack awareness because you are unmindful, and this is the basis of your going astray. Through my prayer, may all you beings recognize your intrinsic awareness. If one possesses this mindful awareness, it is just like the blazing of fire on a stove. Whatever afflictive emotions or thoughts arise within that mind, attachment, aversion, and so forth, they will transform into mindful awareness. Just like when you throw firewood into the fire, the wood itself transforms into fire. So recognizing this, one realizes that all those activities in this world lack any essence. All the thoughts in the mind that arise, they lack any true essence. So understanding that, one will recognize all those thoughts arising in the mind, and they themselves will transform into mindfulness, just like firewood transforming into fire and placed into the fire. So in this way, we will discontinue to engage in action which are unmindful. These afflictive emotions and concepts that arise are recognized with mindful awareness and thus transformed into wisdom. So therefore, Kuntuzangpo says, may all you beings recognize your own intrinsic awareness. May you sustain mindfulness. And so Rinpoche says as a dedication, let's read the prayer from Kuntuzangpo. Because when you have received the explanation, it becomes very flavorful.
바람을 시켜주고 하나. 네. 그저 바라기 있어. 이 저들 지금 뭐 랑게 생각 내려올 내가 저들 랑게 싫어. 랑게 실에 내려 온다는데 남들 나면 대해서 말아요. 랑게 시발에 강이 가지고 있으니 라심 상제 인정 뭐 맛이 남도 죽고 있죠. 뭐하고 송 제가 라시 상지 랑게 상지 이제 대처 시합 랑을 또 죽고 다 맛이 버려야지. 대로 오시소나 랑게 생각 내려올 때 방송나 되게 진앙이 살고 남도 죽고 있겠다고 해요. 남도 이거 같이 이실에 들어오고 그래서 군장보나지 그래 뭐 이실에 들어오고 뭐시라 마시라더니 뭐 benesa 로아토 참 이제라 어때는 그거 나오시지 이제 버려야지 근데 빠랑시 가서
So my Dharma friends, yesterday we have come to the line here on page 8 where it says in the first paragraph, through my prayer may all you beings recognize your intrinsic awareness. And so it is referring to recognizing one's own Buddha nature, recognizing through wisdom or mindfulness one's own face, as Milarepa has said, to recognize the yogi who recognizes one's own face. He has referred to that yogi who is recognizing the nature of the mind. Sentient beings fail to recognize their own face, their own true nature, which is the Buddha, which is the Dharmakaya in essence. So it comes down to whether or not one recognizes this state, although it is always present. If one recognizes one's own true nature, one recognizes the nature of one's mind, then all the concepts that arise within that mind will transform, will become the Dharmakaya. Afflictive emotions are transformed into wisdom. And that is referred to as Samantabhadra. When the afflictive emotions are transformed into wisdom. Failing to recognize this nature, one continues to grasp at those afflictive emotions, engage in karma or action, and therefore continue to wander in the 6 realms of samsara. Therefore, it is crucial to recognize one's own true nature.
드리대 말을 적하게 나더니 말을 빠지래서 그러니까 실직집에 말을 빠 시바 재미 용화에 그것도 답고 말을 빠 나지 있었대 봐서 실직집에서 그러더니 오늘 저는 말을 빠지 가와도 말을 빠지 생기 카가 요만 생활을 거 라시 저 랑가다가 또 시바 싸우고 되는 샤 맞다 봐래 별로 많이 오고 많이 그 랑사 그래 배때도 랑을 랑살지 하나는 호도로 랑을 랑살을 줘요 뭐래 배나 다들 시바인데 갖다 말을 배도 남시다 이게 제발지 다다 시바사고 담말 시바 내려한 거라 네 오로 때잖아 그 랑진 게 사도소도 차 뭐래 사도소도 차가 들으더니 담만 봐 담게 좀 찍어요 동바차 대가 좀 맞지나 람지게 라르 그랑사르데 사통수도 람지 바호 람시다 말 바카카라 이거 말해서 뭐네지나 대세지 기본 말 봐서 돈나 세르타 야게 들어서 세르타 야게 카카 말해 카카 매니저도 내가 다대 막 통을 차도 요래 세르트라 가도 많이 봤대 자 저런 거 됐다고 그래. certa, ya, certa, 가서 저런 거가 참던데 야라 잘 되게. certa 가도 돼. certa 그런 좋아요. certa 야, 가도 제 긴장을 하잖아. certa 가도 때에서 적고 빼지다. 생활을 하시마도 말봐. 카카요 말이지. 카카 매와 이 매와더니 하고 그래. 놀라. 납작을 한 게 시발한 걸 쳤대서 또 상수 놓으려래. 말바다리 요별이고 원래 통기 통지 님에가 있던 님에게 해서 근데 대라 되는 신직집에 세분대로 말할 것 같아. 신직집에 말할 것 같아. 시바집만 해봐. 따뜻한 타마 가자 기와래. 나도 샤워를 나도 대체고 때문에들이 봐. 제밤에 봤는데 밤에 봐 차야 되네. 로마틱이 또 봐서 시바집에 영화에 될 것도 딱 말할 거야. 나진 있었도 말해. 뒤는 안 되니? 마오 참바 샤워 사람들이 이다 나진이. 근데 되는 거들이 생기던 니 있었던 바데. 나도 이 될 차다고 봤잖아요. 나진 있었던 바데. 그것도 답고 말할 거예요. 그것도 답고 말할 거야. 나진 있었던 바에. 찍고 다 말해. 샘찍고 이제 철저히 있어. 샘찍이 담지. 되니 나진 있더라더니 나진 인상들라더니 보통 제만 지네. nim발이 있어. 내가 내발로 차대요. 되는 지냈더니 고맙송을 해서 그래서 딱 말해. 샘찍고 이제 철저히 있어.
Garchen, imputing on a virgin